Closing doors shut me in. Path doesn't matter. It won't be no escape.
The name is Brandon Groce. And we are the Game Changers. Designers, creatives alike. We are in a world that runs on value. Our next designs will be the shiniest. Our next animation will be the most buttery. Ladies and gentlemen, Game Changers, let the games begin.
Howdy doody everybody, welcome to one of the first EditorX lives that we are both simulcasting to both YouTube and the EditorX community page, or rather the private group. So welcome, we have some new faces and we have some regulars. First off, I want to say hello to the chat. We have SK Arif, what's going on? And we have DA Creative, welcome my friends. And by the way, if you guys are not familiar with me, my name is Brandon Groce. I will be your host for these live learning sessions, and these are things that we've been doing in the secret testing a couple months ago, and we're excited to be bringing these to the larger community, and I'm excited to show you guys what we have in store for you to learn in terms of understanding the fundamentals of EditorX and building some really cool things over a two-day period every week. So first of many. All right, we have some, hey, what's going on, Lorraine? We have Kimberly, we have Dennis. What is going on in the chat? Howdy doody, glad to see everybody and all these friendly faces here. All right, so with that said, let's jump into what we have for today and let's just get started. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, since I'm talking to both Facebook and YouTube, still getting oriented, making sure I can see both of the chats, so just bear with me. But if you guys have any questions regarding, you know, what's going on, why I'm doing certain things, or even if there's just general questions you have about EditorX, please make sure you drop them in the chat. These live sessions are not just for me, I love talking, but these are for, you know, large conversations in terms of how you can better understand the platform that much better, and just come each week to one place and see how you can make new and more interesting things with the tools that EditorX provides. What's going on, Noah? We have Wix X, what's going on? And really quick, I do see that some people are asking if the live stream has started. It has. I'm going to copy this link. Noah, you saved my back. Thank you very much. All right, we'll still figure out how to circulate this on Facebook, but it is on the front page of the group. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive into what we have for today. So first off, we, as always, as designers, we need inspiration, and today's and tomorrow's project was inspired by an amazing designer named Viola Dwee, and it was called a project called Infinity and Beyond. We're not going to do the entire website today, but I loved her full screen design, and I was like, let's see if we can take this design and actually make a responsive website out of it. So that's exactly what we're doing. So today, by the end of tomorrow, and by the way, day one, for anybody who is asking questions, day one is all about building the desktop framework of the website. Tomorrow we are going to be finishing this puppy up in a responsive manner and also animating it so that we get a finished product that looks like this. All right, we got some nice animation. We also have it responsive, so it collapses nice and dutifully, okay? And we also get some hover animations in here for our buttons. Okay, sound nice? If it does, make sure to like the post if you're on Facebook, and also like the video if you are on YouTube. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and get started. And before I begin, are there any initial questions about the day 1, day 2 sort of debauchery? If not, we'll go ahead and get right into it. And by the way, another thing I do want to bring up is we have a whole Discord channel that is basically going to help run these sort of new events that we're bringing to the community. So if you guys want to go to, whether you're on Facebook, I think the link is in the post, and if you're on YouTube, if you're pretty much probably already in the Discord, but we have an amazing Discord community that is basically for us to have a more efficient way to have a conversation, give each other feedback on work. For example, we are doing challenges, right? Today is one of the first challenges, and hopefully you guys can follow along with me as we do this, because I am going to give you guys all the assets and whichever through the site, basically the site styles. So let's talk about that next, but basically if you guys want to follow along and submit your work just like we've done with the previous challenges and want to get feedback on how you've built these things, that's what this channel is for. We have done plenty of challenges, gone through many people's work to actually go on their site, send them videos on how they can mix things up or correctly build things. Like, this is an in-depth classroom for you guys to learn EditorX. So highly recommend you check out the EditorX Discord. There's tons of things from feedback. You guys can join the challenges, which we will eventually add prizes and things too, but more on that later. All right, so what we are going to do is I'm going to start from scratch. So I'm going to go to pages. I'm going to click add new page, and we'll start from scratch here. And I'm just going to call this live session. All right, and one of the things I do want to point you guys out to is I have shared one of my libraries with you guys that has all these assets with this. So if you look in either YouTube and or the Facebook, you will see, I'll put this in the chat so you guys can get it just in case if you are not able to see it. Let me go ahead. And yes, we are starting from a blank canvas today, Omari. So if you guys want to have all of the assets and this library so you can literally just follow along with me or watch this back and follow along, all you have to do is follow this link and it should add automatically to your assets. Right here, if you go to this plus, you go to assets, you should immediately get a DC001 Infinite and Beyond asset library. It has all of the fonts, all of the colors we'll be using, and all of the different components that we'll be using to build this website out, so you guys don't have to think all about all of that. Okay, so with that being said, let me see, I just want to make sure. There we go, perfect. Let me know if you guys don't, if you can't get that link to work, just let me know. But let's go ahead and start from scratch. So I do not want this header, we'll just leave the footer. And what I'm going to do here is just like you, what I would love for you guys to do is pull in this 100 VH gradient section, okay? And we can also, I'll show you guys how this was built so you guys don't necessarily get lost. So I'm going to pull this right underneath our previous section. I'm going to delete this. And let's go ahead and click on this section we just dragged in. I'm going to go over to my inspector, go into my layouter, or rather my design, and let's go to color. So all I've done is I've selected this middle gradient here, and it's basically a radial gradient. And so I have 3 prongs for the gradient. And if you guys have used this actual link to get my assets, all the colors, the fonts, and all that good stuff, you should have all the colors that I have been using for this project, okay? So this first color, it is this theme color right here. It's a light gray, and these other 2 brown gray-ish colors we are using right here. Let me see. Let's go back here. It should be another theme color. It should be this first theme color here. And for those of you who actually want the hex, it is 1A1818. All right. And if you guys don't want a gradient, you guys very simply can do a solid. But from there, all we're gonna go ahead and do is we are gonna right click on, or excuse me, we're gonna just click on the section, apply a grid, and we are gonna start with a 2x1. And now just to help myself out here as well, I do wanna duplicate this because I also wanna reference the previous project that I've done so that you guys can see, or we can go back and forth between what's been built and what we're building today. All right, let's go to, all right, this is all we're gonna, perfect. All right, so all I'm gonna do from here is I'm gonna right click. I'm going to find or quick add a container. And I'm gonna take this to the top, just align this here. I'm gonna set this to a width about 100. And let's see, what kind of height do we wanna mess with this, ladies and gentlemen? Let's start with just 100 pixels. And this minimum height, we're just gonna set to none, because we do not want that. We're gonna reduce the background opacity to 0. And what we're gonna do here, let's just make sure this is aligned accurately. There we go. We're gonna make a grid. We're gonna do a 3x1. Because if we look at this, one of the first things that we want to do, let's take a look. I'm gonna kind of explain why I'm doing this. So in this design, we have a logo mark. I think that logo type, there we go, logo type. We have a logo mark, and then we have the menu. And so when we start talking about responsivity tomorrow, we want to make sure these things actually stay in place. So we're kind of giving them their containers for them to live, and they're not fighting their roommates, okay? All right, so what we're gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna pull in, I'm gonna go back to my add elements. I'm gonna go back to the assets panel, the DC001 Infinite and Beyond. Again, let me know in the chat if you guys are you able to access this. If not, let me know and I'll show you guys how to actually incorporate this. But it should be as simple as finding that link in and around the live stream that you're watching right now, and just it would basically open up your Editor X, and you should have all of that stuff in your assets. So let's find our logo first. Dun, dun, dun. Everything is white, so it is difficult. Okay, artism, there we go. So we're gonna just take that and we're just gonna drag it in our first container here. And what I'm gonna go ahead and do here is width, I don't care about the percentage right now. I wanted to set it to max content. And if you guys are familiar with max content, basically it's Editor X's way of saying, hey, there's things in this container. Would you like us to expand to everything in that and basically fit the container box to what's inside of it? And so rather than me pushing and pulling this, because that's just math I don't want to have to deal with, I am just going to set the width to max content. Whatever's in there, please make a container the exact width size. Make sense? Cool. All right, if not, please let me know in the chat. So we have that. I'm going to do the same thing with our menu and our logo mark. Get our vector logo here. All right, we have clicked on the link, but your assets are not appearing in my assets library. I see previous assets I have saved, but I'm not seeing yours. Not sure what I'm doing wrong. Oh no! All right, well, let's see. Let's try this. If you guys are using the link to download the assets, what I want you guys to try out first is look under your site styles and see if you can find, go to more styles and see if you can find the DC001 Infinite and Beyond. Because it should be as simple as giving you that link, and you should either have my assets either in your site styles or it should be in your assets. So, and it should be under libraries right here. Noah, if you're in the chat, because I know you are, if you can like verify for me, because I've had people verify me yesterday that it was just easy in a click. So if you guys can help me out, might be user error, I have no idea. But guys, ladies and gentlemen, we have both today and tomorrow to figure this out, so have no fear. But we will do this together. But thank you so much for letting me know that it wasn't as easy as I thought. We'll figure it out. And by the way, again, like this is stuff, if you guys join the Discord, I'm happy to, after this session, jump in the Discord with you and literally just walk everybody through this. But in terms of like how the site style thing works. But for right now, let's get through this puppy. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on the vector art. I'm going to scale it to a size that I pretty much want. And the menu, I'm going to go to my quick ads, go to menu, and I'm going to go to hamburger menus. And because I am feeling dainty today, I want the all dots menu. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, obviously to change the color of this hamburger menu, is go to my inspector, change the color to white. And for right now, I'm just going to center this in place here. We'll change that in a bit. Basically, we will set margins, just like we've done here, a percentage margin. But for right now, we'll leave that as is. All right. Actually, we're probably going to do that right now. All right, so let's talk about the margin. All right, so what I want to do is I want to have about 120 pixels margin from the left and the right, and essentially our sun can stay in the center. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm not good at percentage math, this is why I'm perfect at doing these, because, you know, as designers, maybe you're a mathematician. If you are, bueno for you, but I am not. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to switch the margin from percentage to pixels. And because I know when I've designed this, hey, I want 120 pixels margin from the left and the right. I'm going to go ahead and type in 120. I'm going to select my logo type here. I'm going to go down to margin. And I am going to, for the left margin, I'm going to set this to pixels. I'm going to type in 120 pixels, hit enter. And it basically goes to the 120 pixels. Now, all I can do if I want it to be percentage, all I have to do is click that drop down or this pixels here, set it to percentage, and it already sets to me, hey, 120 pixels on desktop is 18%. So I don't have to do the math, it does it for me. I'm gonna do the same thing to our hamburger over here, except on the right side. I could totally just type in 18% because it would be the exact same thing. But just wanna illustrate that for you guys. All right, now let's actually get into the fun part. We are going to start designing this container with all of the assets in it. So let's get started. First off, we are going to create a container. So we're going to right click, quick add container. And we don't have to be super precise about where we're laying this just yet because we will be moving this. And to double check myself, I do want to make sure that I'm clicking on the section right now because I wanted to make sure that the actual height is 100% VH. I know we dragged out the section, but I just wanted to make sure that nothing actually changed when we dragged it out. And I do want to set the minimum height to none. We don't need that. All right, so let's start playing with our container. And as we have here, we have basically 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of content. So I'm going to apply a grid, and I'm going to do 4 rows, just like this. And for right now, because we don't want a gray background, I'm going to click our container here, go to my inspector palette, and I'm going to turn the background to 0. All right, now let's play. This is where the fun stuff comes in, and this is where the site styles really come in handy. Okay, so if you were able to, actually I'm curious, was anybody in the chat able to actually download or use the site styles? Or was it just the one person who was struggling? Let me see. Brandon, when using the link, library link, it says it's currently already in my account. Never used the link before. Interesting. We'll have to take a look at that. I'm gonna have to ask the EditorX team to see why exactly that's happening. If you've not used the link before, that's especially interesting to me because we've had two people yesterday where I sent them the link and they were able to incorporate it very easily. So we'll talk after. We will talk after. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to quick add a title. And as you guys can see, because I'm already using a site style, I already had the font that I want to use already by default in here. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to type in Infinite and Beyond. Actually, I'm going to copy and paste here. Copy, paste. All right. And so just like we did with the text here for our menu, I'm going to set this, the width, to max content so we get that nice and concise box. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to edit text, and I actually want to use one of my site styles, which is H1. Right now it is using H1, but it is the incorrect one. The heading 1 is actually 177 pixels. So I'm going to use reset changes so that it actually uses the font size that I have in my themes. Now, I think honestly this is probably a little too big, so I might go back into, let's see, I'm going to edit text, and I actually am going to, let's drop this to 140 for right now. And I'm going to edit text, H1 again, and let's go to update theme. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to update, as you guys can see here, now the font that is Midnight Glamour Serif, it went from 177 pixels to 140. If you guys have any questions, oh man, so there's quite a few people that aren't able to access it. That kind of stinks. Let me see. Let me see. I'm gonna try to do something really quick. I know this is gonna be a little bit of a detour from the live session, but I want to see if this works because I don't want this to happen in the future. All right, so I'm gonna go to my assets real quick. All right, let me know what happens with this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm about to put this in Facebook. Let me know how that works for you all on Facebook, and everybody on YouTube seems to have the site styles. So I must have just put the wrong thing in Facebook. All right. Just double checking. All right, guys, seems like we're A-okay. All right, so let us, for those of you guys on Facebook, let me know if that works for you. I'm trying to go back and forth between Facebook and YouTube commentary. I tried to like put together the chats, so just bear with me. All right, and yes, for those of you asking, will this be uploaded? It will. This will be recorded. You guys can come back to this constantly, so this will not be going anywhere. All right, so what I'm gonna actually set this to 120. So let's set this to 120. Perfect. I'm gonna update this one more time. Update theme. Hit apply. All right, we now have 120. And so now what I want to do is I'm gonna go to my container, change layout grid, advanced mode, and just like what we have been doing, so we have nice conjunct content. What I mean by, just like what we did with the text box, Infinity and Beyond, we did max content so that the box fits nice and tidy to the text. We're gonna do the same thing for our rows. So instead of min-max, we are gonna set this to max content, so we get a nice flush box to the content that's within it. Okay, and we're gonna do the same thing for the rest of our content that we have here. So I'm gonna quick add paragraph. I'm gonna pull this in our second box here. I'm just gonna drag our lines out. Whoops. Let me click here, advanced mode. Let me pull this down, just really. All right, let me do. Let's just do this first. Let's go to edit text. We're gonna use paragraph 1. There we go. And for right now, everything is gonna be really close, but we are going to space things out. So for example, Infinity and Beyond, if I wanted space at the bottom of this, I can very simply go down here and do 50, well, there's already 50 pixels. It seems as if I feel like there's a little bit of a bug happening. Let's do this. Change grid layout. Boom. Okay, that looks fine. Max content. Let's go here. We are max content. And what happens if we do 100? What's happening here? All right. I want to double check something here too, because if we see here, there is, let me see, maybe I have something different here. We have max content on the text here, and we also have max content on the container row as well. And for some reason, we are getting, even if I zero this out, this is going pretty much further than the container. So let's figure out why that happened. Container. Guys, making things live when you guys get to see how the turkey and the sausage is made. You know, this is how designing rocks. It's just troubleshooting, trying new things, and just rolling through the punches. So we're gonna get our 4-row container again. Quick add, title. We're gonna grab our Infinity and Beyond. Copy. Boom. We're gonna apply our heading to it. Reset changes. All All right, that looks much better. This is what I'm expecting. We're gonna set this to max content. Okay. Maybe we'll set it to pixels. I see as soon as I set it to max content, we're having a little bit of a pixel issue. I have no idea why that is. All right. We are going to set this into the first part of our container here. And I'm going to make sure that it is in the first part of our container. There we go. That might have been the first problem. Go to advanced mode. We're gonna set this to max content. All right, I think that was the main problem, guys. I think I put the text thinking it was in the first row when it really was in both. I apologize. All right, sweet. So that one worked beautiful. Thank you, guys. Awesome. See, I was like, it must be spanned in 2 rows. I appreciate that. All right, so now that we have that covered, let's get into how things should be. All right, I appreciate that, guys. See, the team makes the dream work. You know, I know how I've done this stuff multiple times, but sometimes when you're in the thick of it, things don't work out. But you know, the teamwork makes the dream work. And we keep rolling with the punches, guys. So I'm gonna set this to paragraph 1. First off, you guys and the link not working was making me nervous. It was getting hot in here. I'm glad it worked out. All right, so I'm gonna copy and paste our text from over here. Please your eyes and refresh your brain with art. Everything is solved with art. So I'm gonna go ahead and edit this text, double click, paste that in. And I am going to do same thing to this row. Change layout, advanced row. We're gonna set this to max content to squish it down height-wise. And for this, I want to set this to about like about 5% margin. I'm going to make sure everything else is set to 0. And we're pretty much going to do the same thing for all of our other content. So we're going to get all of our content in. It's going to be nice and squished, and then we'll start putting the margin and the padding on everything. All right, let's go ahead and we're gonna go to our plus elements here, and we are going to drag in our PNG button asset. Or actually, before we do that, I'm gonna drag them both in, but I'm gonna make a container. And our watch button, just like this. So for our third row, I'm gonna right click, quick add, container. And I'm going to make sure that this is within our third row, yes. I'm gonna expand this for now. And I'm going to apply grid. I'm going to do a 2x1. And I'm going to pull the book now. I'm going to make sure I attach it inside. Whoops. Here we go. Of our container, just like that. And same thing with this other button, just like this. Making sure it is over here. All right. So I'm going to do a couple things. So our container here, how this is set up, I also want to kind of explain this to you. So if you guys have questions how I've structured some of the assets I've given you, please let me know. And in the chat, we have Caitlin is asking, what is the difference between margin and padding? That is a great question. I will get it to you right now. All right. So I'm trying to see. So padding, this is how we can think about it. Padding is kind of like, let me just show you. So if I add 40 pixels to the top here, right? That's what this green is. What that is it's kind of looking at everything that we have, and it's saying, or it's a container and it is adding padding within the container. So if we look at this, we go back to our padding, it is adding space within the section container, right? Whereas margin is saying, hey, we are within the container. We want to push away. It's a very difficult distinction because they are doing the same thing, but very differently. So let me go and actually just open up a random site, because this is actually a very simple concept. So I've gone into inspect element. And so what we're looking at here, if we look very closely at this, right, there is a element that is 1650 by 105. And then there's padding, there's 0, there's a border, and then there's margin. So they both add space, but padding is like pushing out. And margin, there's just different levels. It's hard to explain. But margin is what you are editing when you're inside a container, and padding is typically when a container, you want to constrain the container from the inner sides in, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know. We will go through it. Margin, we will pretty much edit everything inside of these containers with margin. When we start dealing with sections, we're probably dealing with padding. All right. So I'm going to edit our container here. I kind of want to make one side smaller and the other side larger so we can actually fit our text here. Our container here, I'm going to set the fill to 0. And because there's all this space, I don't want all that. Again, I'm going to set all this stuff to max content. Max content. I'm going to left align this here. And I'm going to give it some margin here. I'm going to do 10 pixels. I'm going to select the container. Again, width, not really trying to mess with that. I'm going to set this to max content. There we go. Everything is nice and squished. I'm going to center this horizontally and vertically. And I'm going to do the same thing with the button. If you guys can see, there's a little bit of space up top of this button. We don't really care for that. So I'm going to go to my container. Min width or min height, I want to set that to none. And our container here, let's go ahead and set this to max content. All right. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to scale this up now. And if you guys are curious on how I built these buttons, feel free. We will discuss, because some people like to bring in assets, image assets as buttons. And I actually, what you'll learn today is how to actually make them, the assets clickable and even have a hover interaction. So if that's something you guys are interested in, something we'll definitely go over today. And I apologize with the reading of the chat, guys. I've tried to use a channel or a tool to streamline all the chat, but it's not working. So I still have to read the Facebook and the EditorX or the YouTube channels. So appreciate your guys' patience. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to left align everything in both left and right sides of this container. And I'm going to change the grid layout, and I'm going to apply max content to both of these. So max content, there we go. So it squeezes to our book now button. And we're going to also set this to max content. Now, as you can see, I actually did have this problem yesterday. Even though we set it to max content and it shows that it's ending here, there's all this space here. So this is actually a live demonstration of some troubleshooting. I am going to unstretch this. There we go. And that actually should be pretty much perfect. Now let's check why. Let's learn together, ladies and gentlemen. Minimum width, we're gonna set this to none. And all right, we'll deal with this. This still works for us. All right, so I'm gonna increase the margin over here. We're gonna set this to about 15, maybe 20, or actually, you know what we're gonna do? Yeah, no, we'll stick with this. We'll do 30. All right, that works for me. Give some nice separation between our buttons. We're gonna left align this, and we're gonna add that 5% of margin to the left to keep it in alignment with our content up here. All right, now we are gonna pop in our, oops, before we do that, I want to also go to advanced mode. I'm going to make sure that we set this to max content as well. There we go. I'm gonna set this container as well. I'm gonna set the height to none. There we go. So now we have a nice squish. And like I said, once we get everything squished, then we'll add some of the margin to push some of the things and give some space. Caitlin, I'm so glad it worked out. in at least in my explanation, but like padding and margin, like even to this day, like I'm not gonna lie to you, like I put numbers in both padding and margin to see which one works in my favor in terms of what I'm trying to get. But margin is usually when you're dealing with individual components. Padding is like when you're dealing with large sections. All right, we are going to pop in another, I believe it's another container, or we're gonna do just double checking myself here. Container, yes, a container with a repeater. Quick add, we're gonna do a container, and I'm pretty sure you could pop in repeater just within this container, but again, I'm just trying to, keep everything consistent with how I did it once, so if we fall into any issues, I can reverse engineer it and we can figure it out together. Now, as you guys can see, there is a little bit of a clipping here. If you guys are wondering what that is, I believe that it is just, let's go to advanced. So you can see that this clipping is happening because of the size of essentially this row. So again, max content. Oh, where'd that go? Hold up. This is exactly what I was talking about, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's unstretch this. Let's set this to a pixel width for right now. I'm gonna set this to stretched, or rather, let's just do 100% here. And I'm gonna set the height to 100%, and I'm gonna set them to pixels very quickly. All right, now let's go back to our container, change grid layout, advanced mode, and let's see what happens when we hit our max content here. All right, this is exactly what I was talking about with troubleshooting, ladies and gentlemen, because this is exactly what I did here, and we had no problems. So let's reverse engineer. All right, so we did have a stretch container. That's fine. Row 4. And let's check our change. And we have a max content row. So let me see. And if anybody in the chat has any thoughts, let me know. But while we're trying to figure out what happened there, let's go ahead and make some margin spacing for some of the assets that we have in here. So I'm gonna set about 20 to 30 pixels to the bottom of each one of these content pieces. And some of you guys might be saying, well, Brandon, can't you do that with a stack? The answer is 100% yes. And again, just like with any platform or design platform you guys use, whether it's Adobe, Figma, what have you, there's many different ways of achieving a particular goal. For me, this is what makes me comfortable and getting the results that I like. All right, so we have all of our margin, and now let's figure out, oh, I guess it kind of fixed itself. I have no idea how and or why. Let's see why. All right, so it's fitting now. Questions that I have. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we do not need to apply a grid. We are just very simply going to go ahead and we're gonna grab a repeater. And if anybody in the chat knows kind of what happened, we would definitely love to know what did happen, but it magically fixed itself. Okay, we're gonna find our repeaters. We're gonna go to decorative, let's see, layout tools, repeater. And I'm gonna just grab a repeater of 3. I'm gonna pull this into our container here. I'm gonna stretch it. And what we are gonna do here is we need to fix the scaling of our items here. So I'm gonna click our item, and we are going to set the minimum height of these to none so that it actually fits within the repeater box. We're gonna set all of the item background colors to none, or a opacity of 0. And we're also going to select the container and set this background to 0. And really quick, I'm gonna take a quick look at the chat, see what's going on, so I am informed. All right. Was your main container also set to max content? My main container, this puppy, the entire thing. So everything here is max content, max content, max content, max content. Now the width, honestly, it probably wouldn't hurt to also do that max content as well, but did I do that for this project? No. But if you want to add that additional piece, and it gives you peace of mind and allows you to make your project, especially if you have complicated projects, that makes things easier, you know, more power to you. Noah says margins push parent elements from a child element. See, that is a proper technical explanation. Tahir is asking, is there a function where you scroll slightly, it scrolls completely to the next section? Hard to explain, hope you understand. I think I understand, and there are ways of producing that sort of effect, but we will not be going into that right now. But if you join the Discord, that is something that we'll definitely be able to explain and also show you. And possibly we'll be able to do a challenge on that later. All right, so now we have our 3 items here with our repeater, and all we're gonna go ahead and do is we are gonna go into our assets once again, and we are going to grab the number plus subtitles, and we're just gonna drag that into one of our items. It will duplicate all across of our items here, and we are gonna center these in our items here, just like that, using our inspector container alignment tools. And from here, all I need to do here, let's go ahead and see, we have 2K paintings. Let's go double click in that. So we're gonna do type 2K and type in here, paintings. So it's very easy to actually like use, if you guys have used repeaters, you get, you know, put assets in there and you change what you need for each unique element or item. It's pretty awesome. We're gonna drop 90 in here. And this is sculptures. Or statues, there we go. Perfect. Okay, now what we are going to do, this was probably the most complex side. Even then, it's pretty easy. What we are gonna do here now is I want actually to align this. I'm gonna take some pro tips from the chat. We're gonna do max content. We're gonna see what this does for us. Instead of 1 FR, we're gonna set this to max content. It was pretty close. We're gonna hit done, and we are going to bring this, we're gonna align this to our centerpiece here. And now what I'm going to do is this next piece is actually really easy. I'm going to hit the plus, go to our assets, and please don't scream at me, ladies and gentlemen in the chat. I'm just going to pull the statue PNG onto the right-hand side. And of course, guys, the resolution on this asset is really low. If you guys want to actually use the true asset from Unsplash, please go to change image, go to Unsplash, and just type in Greek. Okay, I know I was gonna hurt some designers' feelings with that resolution of that image. So if you want the actual photo, please, it's right here. Type in Greek under Unsplash, hit update, and you have the full resoluted image here for your playing with. Okay, but for right now, I'm gonna use the arrow. All right, just don't yell at me. Okay, so we have this. All I'm gonna do is I believe I'm going to just dock this to the left, and I want to set this, I believe we're setting this to a percentage width. We're gonna do 56. I'm gonna hit enter, and we are going to pull it all the way to the left here. All right, so one of the things I do want to fix here is we have some actual more space here than we do over here, because we used max content, where here we kind of gave ourselves some space. So I'm actually gonna see the width of this container is 87, around 88. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's do 88. And we are going to take a peek at, I'm actually gonna line this to the left. Reason being is I wanna see how much margin this has. So we have 12% margin. We're gonna see how many in pixels that is. It's 120. Again, we're gonna go here, pixels, 120. It's actually really interesting. So let me actually pull this here. This says 100, now this says 126 pixels, which is interesting, but I think now this is exactly, I want all this stuff to line up. I want artism and all this stuff to line up. And we're gonna set this, so it looks like 126 pixels, but let's type in 120. Let's go to percentage, this is 18. It was very interesting to that wasn't doing that in the beginning. So let's align to the right. And let's do 18%. All right, I think it was because it was docked to the center rather than the left or the right. So that was my bad. We're learning as well. Uh-oh. Guys, I apologize on YouTube for the, whatchamacallit, the spam. Trying to remove. Okay. All right, so we should be safe from that. Let's see. I meant in the main inspector. Not sure that would make a difference. Let's see. In the main inspector? You mean in the main section? I'm assuming. In the main section, I am not using max content. We're using 1FR, 1FR, and over here, we're using a min-max. You could use a max content if you wanted. I'm not sure what that's gonna do to the site as of right now, and I don't want to, well, let's see what it does. Okay, you could do max content like that, but you know, I want to keep it to 100% vertical height. So one thing you could do, and one thing I do like to do, and we'll actually talk about it in a moment. I am going to, before we do that, actually, I'm gonna give us some space from the top here. Into 80 pixels. And let's actually talk about that section row. All right, so when we preview this is kind of what we're looking at. Now, this is something that we'll talk about a little bit more tomorrow, but once you actually publish the site on EditorX, if you've not paid for it, you get this little created on EditorX, which is about, I believe it's either 50 or 80 pixels. Let's actually take a look how large it is. I believe it is 50. We have, all right, so we have 32 plus 18. I think that's 50. Yeah, so it's about 50 pixels. And what you can do, and what we'll talk a little bit about tomorrow, is if you truly want a site where, like if we publish this and there's still, for example on this, there is still a little bit of scrolling. And if we want to do a 100% vertical site where there's no scrolling enabled, usually if we were to just do 100 VH without this banner, it would be fine. It wouldn't scroll at all. But we have to kind of do a little bit of a calculation to include the 100% vertical height website and minus 50% or 50 pixels to include, that includes essentially subtracting 50 pixels away from the vertical height, so that the website that we've created that we want 100% vertical height does not actually scroll like this. So that is tomorrow's agenda. So we are coming up on time. We've got about 10 minutes left, and I do want to entertain your guys' questions. So we have made it through day one. If you guys want, feel free to drop in Discord, and any questions that we haven't gone through today, please. There is an entire section under advice that has ask questions, and literally we have threads of probably over 100 questions that you might want access to as well. But we answer questions daily, and we try to get to you with at least within 30 minutes, either with a video answer, etc. So there's a ton of information here. You guys can chat with us. You guys can, submit, for example, today's daily challenge in here, so we can see how you built it. We can give you guys feedback and kind of instruct you on better ways to build your site. So with that said, please check out the Discord, and let's hand on over to the chat really quick. I'm gonna read off some things. 50 pixels, yep, I thought so. All right, let me check both our Facebook and our YouTube chat. Okay, let me see. Give me a second, guys. Facebook is not my my first first home, but let me see. It looks like I'm looking at the comments here. Let's see. All right, going to YouTube really quick. Nice, thank you so much. Caitlin says, All right, cool. So with that said, it seems like we are a-okay when it comes to questions, ladies and gentlemen. So with that said, if you don't have questions right now, but have them later, again, drop them either underneath if you're on Facebook in the post, and we'll probably pull you on into the Discord to continue the conversation. But again, tomorrow, same time, same place, we will be here both on Facebook and YouTube to be building the responsive side of this project. So with that said, if you haven't already, please make sure that you download the site styles so that you can start working on this project along with us, and submit your work either in the Discord in the challenges section. Again, just to show you guys, in the challenges section, literally just pop it right here, ask your question, we'll get in there and help you out, or feel free to just chat with us or ask your question. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today. I'm going to wait a couple more seconds to see if you guys have any other questions. Thank you so much for dropping the link in Facebook. I guess that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this session. If you have, don't forget to like this video both on Facebook and YouTube, and I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place, 1 p.m. EST. So with that said, all right, came in late, I'll watch it after. All right, I'll leave the recording up. But with that said, I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place, and I hope it's just as fun. And hopefully now that I know how to work out some of the kinks in the live streams, you guys had patience for me. Thank you very much, and I'll see you then. Peace. To create dope, code-free responsive websites like this, and even this for you or your clients in just minutes. Because all of this is achievable in the powerful no-code platform EditorX. On these days, every week I'll be hosting live streams in our EditorX community on Discord and Facebook to teach you the fundamentals of EditorX and how to create beautiful, responsive websites like you see here. In these weekly lessons, we will be building one fully designed and responsive website together. We'll be providing you all of the starter files, assets, and fonts that you need. So really all you gotta do is show up, have fun, and follow along with me as we produce the next coolest project for your portfolio. Or you can just come, hang out, and learn some new tips and tricks within EditorX to add to your next client project. For more information and details about the weekly live stream sessions or other cool community activities we have going on, click the link down below or in our bio, and I will see you in our community. See you there.